In this last video of Lesson 2, we'll do a quick review of percentiles. So a percentile, once again, is not a percent. A percentile is a value in the data set that marks a certain percentage of the way through the data. We use percentiles to find individual scores, but percentiles don't summarize the full distribution. So let's just say, for example, that somebody had a GRE score that was reported to be in the 80th percentile. So what that means is 80% of the people who took that same exam scored at the same or below that particular student. So percentile ranks, you want them to be higher, of course. You can also say roughly 20% scored above the student. Let's do a learning check. Here we go. 50 students were asked how much sleep they got per night. Averages were calculated and rounded to the nearest hour and are presented in this table. So as you can see right here, we have the table that I've already filled in for you with all of the elements. I want you to figure out what does the X represent in the table. Find the 80th percentile, find the 50th percentile, and a student in this study was told that her sleep score was near the 30th percentile. Interpret the 30th percentile in the context of sleep results. Pause the computer, take a moment to do this, and then we'll check out your answers. So X represents in the table the hours of sleep. So they are listed here. The lowest score reported was 4 and the highest score was 10. 3 students reported having 10 hours of sleep per night. Lucky. 2 students reported having 4 hours of sleep. Oh dear. So anyway, and then the frequency obviously is the number of students who had scores at each of these categories. Find the 80th percentile. So 8 hours of sleep, or 8.5 if we're using the real limits. We have the cumulative frequency of 80 here. We draw the line over, and that's 8 hours of sleep. Find the 50th percentile, and that's here. We're going to draw it over to 7. That would be the 50th percentile would be at 7 hours of sleep. And lastly, interpret the 30th percentile in the context of sleep results. 30% of the students slept the same or less than the student, and roughly 75% of students slept more. Here's another one. Your child brings home test scores showing that she scored in the 80th percentile in math and 76th percentile in reading for her grade. Interpret these scores. Pause the computer and come back. 80% of the students in her grade scored the same or below in math. 76% of the students scored the same or below in reading. So you might interpret this by saying that her math score is slightly better than her reading score in relation to her peers. Remember that this is just how is she comparing to her peers, both of these measures. Okay, lesson number 2 is almost in the books. Please remember that tables and graphs are descriptive statistics, and they use frequency counts and categories to organize data. Scale of measurement is what we use to determine the type of graph we're going to use. Different graphs are used for nominal data as opposed to interval data. There are 2 major distribution shapes, symmetrical and skewed, and proportions and percentages are descriptive statistics. Finally, percentiles identify a single score in a distribution. All right, I look forward to conversing with you about some of these things in the hallway conversations area. If you have any questions, never feel like they're silly questions, because I've been there. I've made all the same sort of, now I won't say mistakes that you're making or whatever, but I've fumbled. I've been a learner of statistics, and I know that you have to ask questions in order to progress. So I hope to see you in the hallway conversations forum.